So today I'm going to be opening up this quilling kit and seeing what comes included. As you can see, it says beginner paper quilling kit, 19 pieces, and I don't exactly remember what was on the listing, so we'll open it up together and find out what's inside. Okay, so we have this template for the different shapes of quilling and a cork board in the back of it. I assume that's just to make sure that it sort of stays at the right height for it. And this, which I believe is the quilling sort of pen that you have to use. And then these have different sizes and they're sort of like a 3D mould, so I'm not entirely sure what these are for, but maybe you can create 3D shapes with the quilling. I've not actually seen that before, so that might be fun to try. We've got a load of different paper colours, so we've got greens, pinks, browns, purples, yellows, blues, more yellow, sort of grayscale, and then these sort of are a bit more fluorescent. I didn't know if it would come with scissors, so I'm glad that they included a little pair there. I think this is the other quilling sort of pen, and I'm not sure if the camera can see it, but it's got a sort of teeny slit in it where the paper goes in and then you twirl it. Some pins, which I think are just to hold them in place while the glue's drying. This little dropper bottle, which I think you put your glue in there and then it makes it easy just to apply a tiny amount, because these are quite thin, so you don't really want to be just slopping glue on there. This cute little person, oh, it's a curling coach, so I assume that this is to practice curling different sizes and shapes. Not exactly sure how to use this, but I'll try and find out. An empty bag, which I assume this bottle might have come in, so let's just ignore that. Some templates for different flower shapes that you can make. It's quite nice to include that, and these sort of leaf designs. And some tweezers, so these will be very useful because it does seem to be quite a fiddly craft. So now that we've got everything out of the box, I noticed that it doesn't come with any instructions, so I'm probably going to have to look some up online, or I might just give them a go. From what I've seen, you basically just twirl up a bit of paper and then sort of bend the outside to make the shape that you want, but I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than that. Okay, so the rough idea that I have just as a tester is to do a dog. So I'm just going to do a flat coil in the middle and then two sort of teardrop shapes for the ears. And then what I'm hoping to do is use this 3D mould to do a nose or a mouth, and possibly even the eyes as well. And then I was hoping to try and do a sort of rectangle collar and then a diamond for its tag. So I'm not sure how well this shows up on camera, but I'm hoping this will be simple enough to start with. And even though they give you the glue bottle in the kit, it doesn't include any glue. And I've got some card to stick my design down to at the end. I think besides the glue, really it has everything that you need. And it seems a pretty beginner friendly craft, so hopefully I won't eat my words. Let's see how it goes. Step one is to get everything together that I'll need. I'm thinking these browns would be quite good for a dog, and I'll probably use the really dark brown or possibly a black from a different set for the nose. And I also need to fill this glue bottle with some PVA and sort of unplastic everything. So this kit I got from Amazon. I'll leave the link in the description below if you want to give it a go. So I'm just gonna gather all my materials. So I've got all the colours that I want to start with, and I actually think these are packaged really well. The paper feels really thick, it's more like card than paper really, and the ends are actually glued together, so they're really easy to put back in their bag, which I think is great because there's no way I'm going to use all of these in one sitting. Pop that over there for later. So the first thing I want to do is a flat coil for the dog's head. I think it'll be quite a loose coil, as they say. So what I want to do is grab the end of the paper and slot it into this little tool here. There we go. And then I'm coiling the paper around this pin. And I think it's easier if you put the top of the paper sort of in line with the top of the needle. You can put your finger on the end and coil it, and it should stay relatively flat, because you don't want the coil to be going up and down. And I think they call that a tornado when it looks a bit messy, but I'm basically gonna just keep coiling, trying to keep the paper level flat. And I just want to make sure to hold the end there while I grab my bottle of glue. I've managed to find a PVA glue that's actually clear, so it should show up even less than it would normally. But from what I gather, less is more when it comes to gluing quilling paper, because you don't really want the glue to show through. So I'm just gonna put a teeny dab of glue. If I can get any glue to come on. Maybe I needed to fill this bottle up more. Oh, there we go. Teeny tiny amount of glue on there. And then I'm gonna hold that closed. And that will be a tight coil. That's not really what I want for this dog, so I'm gonna actually have to do a second one, but I might use this later. And you have to very carefully pull out the tool in the middle. There we go. And if this glue hasn't dried, I might be able to. Oh no. Because you're using such a small amount of glue, it dries pretty quickly. And there you have a tight coil, which I think is the base for a lot of things. But as you can see, I want quite a bigger coil for this dog's face. But I might even need to put 2 of these strands together to get one that's big enough. So I'm going to take 2 of this colour paper. And because I want it to be more than twice the size, I think I am going to go for 2 strips of paper. So all I need to do is put a little tiny bit of glue on the end of one. And then stick another onto it. And then I will wait for this to dry enough, and then I can start quilling these ones. So I'm impatient, so I'm just going to go for it and I hope it dries by the time I get there. So I thread the paper through the slit in this little pen, start quilling. I'm going to move it to the top because I find that easier to make sure that it stays level. See, I accidentally let it go there, but you can just tug on the end and then it retightens it. So there's the join, but I'm just going to keep going. Okay, and as you can see, that is about twice the size of this one because I've used twice the amount of paper, but I'm not going to glue this one just yet because I don't want it to be this tight coil. So I'm going to grab one of the other parts of this kit. And I think I probably actually want the biggest circle on here. So I think this is where the pins come in, but I might be mistaken. So all I have to do is take this center out, grab a pin, and I think I pop this where I think is the middle, and if I pin it, it keeps the center in the center, and that's why it's got this cool border at the back. and theoretically now if I let go it should unravel just enough to fill this circle, but I'm going to do it a little bit hesitantly. Oh, hasn't quite. So maybe I need more paper for this, but I think I should be able to sort of tease it a bit bigger. But as you can see, the layers are a little bit uneven. I think I can use this. And again, now all I need to do is glue the end down so that it keeps its shape. I do recommend filling this more than I have. It's taking quite a lot of pressure to get any glue out at the moment. So hopefully this will be dry enough. So you can see the difference. I do think maybe I rounded this middle bit too tightly and that's why it's not an even distribution there. But we'll move on for now. I'm just going to pop this down and glue it to my card. So there we go, that's going to be my dog's head. So now I want to do 2 smaller teardrops for the ears. And try it a little differently this time. So I've got this dark brown colour that I want to use for the ears. And I'm going to quill it. But I'm not actually going to quill it as tightly this time because I think that will help get an even finish when I come to put it in the template. I know that you can just quill it round and then sort of pinch the top to get a teardrop shape, so I might try that as well and do 1 of each. Okay, so again I'm not going to glue the end because I don't want it to be a tight coil, but I'm going to grab a pin. And I probably want this smallest one. So I'm going to make sure this gets in there and pin it, and then it's not really releasing into the shape. I think I might need to sort of let it go in my hand a little bit to get it looser. And then pop it into this mould. I'm not sure if I'm using these moulds correctly, so please let me know in the comments, but this hasn't really made a teardrop shape that I was hoping for. I think if I just let it go in my hands, see, you can get this and then you can pull the centre of the coil to the bottom and then sort of shape it into a teardrop shape. Which I definitely should have glued first, but let me do that now. Gluing the end on and holding in place for a second. Pinch and sort of aim it, then you get this sort of teardrop shape. And that is going to go there as one of my dog's ears. I'm just going to put a little bit of glue. Okay, so it's kind of coming together. I think we can do better with the other ear though. So what I'm wondering is if I should be quilling within the template. So I'm going to give that a go. I'm also going to cut one of these in half because I think there was just too much paper to get a loose coil for that ear. So what I'm going to do is put the end in here and then coil it, but in the mould. Doesn't feel like I have as much control over the paper down here, but maybe that will be better. Okay, so if I make sure the end of the paper is tucked in and then let go. Okay, it is unravelling a bit more evenly, but I'm not sure how I tease it into the shape that I want. So I think it's probably easy just to do it by hand and let it go a little bit and glue the end. Move this coil to the bottom and then pinch the loose bits at the top. See, I think that's come out as a much better teardrop shape, although it still hasn't got even coils because there's a big gap in the middle. So there's definitely a bit of a knack to this that I do not have yet. And next, I think I want to try these 3D ones to make a nose. And I think I'll just use the other half of that darker brown strip. What I'm not sure is how you go from this tight coil to a loose coil and get it sort of evenly spaced. So if you have any hints for that, please let me know below. But for first attempt, I think this is going okay, and it's a pretty easy craft to get into. I'm sure it's one that's easy to pick up but hard to perfect. So I'm gonna take this out, and then I want it to get a looser coil, so I'm just letting the pressure off of my hands and letting it, that's much more even. Not sure how I managed that, but put a little bit of glue there. And just pressing down to make sure it sticks. And then I want to use these sort of cone shaped molds. Now, I used to sort of resin and things like that, so I assumed that the molds would be used this way and you put the coil inside it. But it seems like the molds are used this way up and you put the coils on top and sort of push down. So that's what I'm going to attempt to do for this muzzle. So you push down to sort of stretch them out a bit. And it might work better with the tighter coil, so I might try this tighter coil from earlier. And see if that works with a tighter coil. Oh, it works a lot better with a tighter coil. So I might actually end up using this one. But if I just show you, so you start with this flat coil and then you pop it over this mold and just move it down, and then it makes it that shape. But obviously at the moment I can just push it back in and flatten it again. So what you need to do is then glue the inside so it doesn't show, to make it keep this shape. I'm just putting a few sort of lines of glue in here to make sure that it will keep this cone shape. But the tight coil definitely worked better on these than the loose one did. I'm thinking I just attach that on there as his nose. The eyes, I've got this sort of black strip out, but I feel like it's going to be way too big based on the other ones. So I think I'm just going to cut off like a teeny tiny bit. And pop it in here and do a really tight coil. I think the main art of this seems to be breaking down pictures into simpler shapes so that you can make the shapes and build a picture together. And with these eyes, I don't want them to be sort of jutting out, so I'm going to attempt to put them sort of between the existing coils that I've got. I think I preferred it without the eyes, but I'm committed now, so let's do the second one. Yeah, I think this is definitely far away from what I initially envisioned, but I think we can improve on it for sure. I do think this kit is good. It's got everything you need. It's got a big variety of colours. This is definitely a skill issue and not a kit issue, but I can make a 3D kind of dog. I think, you know, if someone saw it, they wouldn't know what it was, but I'm not entirely sure how to use these templates, so I might have to look that up and give it another go. I think this would be great for making sort of thank you cards and greetings cards. Definitely fill up your glue bottle more than I did so that it takes less pressure to get some out, and it gives you a bit more control over it. I'm gonna practice with these coils, but I think this is a great beginner craft. Even though this definitely looks like something a child put together, I'm quite happy with how it came out for the first attempt, and I've learnt a lot even from doing it for sort of this 20 or so minutes. So I think this is a good kit. I do wish it came with a few instructions on how to use everything, but besides glue, it comes with everything you need, and I think you can make a lot from the amount that you get in this box. So I'll leave the link in the description below, and also let me know below if you have any hints or tips for beginners to quilling, or let me know what you've created. Thanks for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing to see more.